Hey, happy to be back. Welcome. The lunar eclipse is here. It's that time again. So we had our solar eclipse 2 weeks ago, and now we are in for a full moon lunar eclipse. Um, I am wearing white today to dispel any energy. They teach you in Kundalini Yoga that when you are a teacher, you wear white so that you reflect the energy back to your students as opposed to them getting caught up in your energy. So that's just a little energy hack for you on your Monday. So if you're new to the broadcast, this is the Essential Astrocast. I'm so excited that you're here. I'm Veronica. I'm an astrologer here in New York City. I also teach yoga, which is why I had that little tidbit of information about being a Kundalini teacher. I am really interested to see how this week plays out because it is a lot of intense energy right now. So many of you have been reaching out to me and saying Mercury retrograde, oh my God, I'm freaking out. It's so intense. The intensity of Mercury retrograde right now is really because of these eclipses amping up all of the energy around us. So if you've been listening over the past few months, you know I've been talking a lot about Saturn and Pluto are in Capricorn, and they are rebuilding or restructuring our foundation. So Pluto was coming through first, and that is destroying or helping you release anything that is not serving you, any part of your old self that maybe doesn't really belong to you anymore. And then Saturn is coming through and helping you rebuild that. So that is happening on the South Node. Now, the South Node is our karma. It's what we brought into this lifetime. The South Node in the sky right now is representing whatever we have to release. And eclipses are about release, and eclipses are eclipses because the new moon and the full moon come into contact with those lunar nodes. That's what makes them eclipses. So eclipses generally illuminate the things that have to change that we may not have wanted to look at. Now, sometimes eclipses illuminate the things that need to change that we are avoiding. We know they're there, but we're like, I'm gonna just let that, I'm gonna avoid it and hope it goes away. Sometimes eclipses bring information or show you things that you've been subconsciously avoiding, things that maybe you didn't know were there, and they come up from that lower subconscious part of your psyche. So what is interesting about Pluto is that Pluto rules the undercurrent, the underworld. Pluto is like the Lord Shiva of the zodiac. He destroys to recreate, to rebirth, to bring transformation. So Pluto is not necessarily a good time, but definitely something that once we get through a Pluto transit, we're like, oh, I'm a much different person now. I'm fully stepping into who I am. Maybe you've gained some wisdom. Maybe you have completely transformed a part of yourself that was dark and needing transformation and needing light. Pluto does rule the darkness. So one of the things that you see coming up in the news right now in society is all of these instances of really horrible things going on in the world, obviously. And without getting into it, because I do want this broadcast to be something that is useful to you and makes you feel good and helps you get back into your life feeling inspired. But you know, there's a lot going on in the world, and I don't necessarily think the things that are going on in the world are because of astrology. I think that astrology and the planets illuminate the things that we have to take a look at so that we can change them. And so you're seeing a lot of darkness in the news because Pluto and Saturn are helping us restructure. And, you know, when people don't pay attention to the signals the universe is sending, then the signals will get louder and louder. So that's a little bit about Pluto. Now, we've got a lot of Pluto happening the past 2 days, and that's why I'm talking about him. So the past 2 days, we had the sun opposite Pluto, Saturday and Sunday. Today's Monday, so it's loosening up a bit. So if you felt that there was some source of secrecy or darkness or something in your life that you've been avoiding that came up on Saturday or Sunday, it was very possibly the sun illuminating Pluto in the sky and how that's impacting your chart. Now, if you have planets at near those degrees, near those planets, in your natal chart, then you'll certainly feel that, you know? We're all feeling it collectively. And it's inviting us to let go of something that just isn't for us anymore. Maybe it's a habit, maybe it's a belief that is holding you back. Maybe it is a person or relationship. Maybe it's a really toxic job environment that you've been sticking it out in just because you've been waiting to get something else, but you know that you just have to let it go to invite something else new in. You know, it can be a whole myriad of things. Where do you self-destruct? That's a thing that we can easily go to with Pluto. We can easily go towards self-destruction with Pluto. So if you find yourself engaging in whatever your self-destructive behavior is, you know, that could be dating the wrong guys, or, you know, I'm planning on getting involved in some self-destructive, you know, bakery behavior when Levan Bakery opens by my house on Wednesday. You know, there are all sorts of self-destructive behaviors that rank from very mild, like me having a tummy ache, to very intense, like, you know, abusing substances. So where is your self-destruction and how is it showing up right now? Because that is definitely something that could be rearing its ugly head at this moment in time. Now we have self-control, we have free will, so please tap into that. Do not feel like if the urge comes on, you have to fulfill it. You know, the South Node, it is our default. It is our comfort zone. So if you know the thing that feels a little bit comfortable to you is not necessarily good for you, remember that you have free will. Remember that you have the ability to make positive choices for yourself. And again, rated on that scale, is it a mild self-destruction, or is it something a little bit more intense? If it's going to take you off the path of, you know, many years of sobriety, and that's really important to you, then, you know, then it's not worth it. If it's going to Levan when they open on 84th and 3rd on Wednesday, and you maybe just have gluten when you don't normally have gluten, maybe it's okay. Maybe it's okay. All right. So now you understand this Astrocast this week is teaching you my passion for Levan cookies. So if you live in New York, you should definitely check them out. Okay, so that's a little bit about Pluto. Now, Pluto's going to come up a lot this week, so I wanted to make sure we talk a little bit about him. You know, he rules the undercurrent of the human psyche. So a lot of things are coming up right now for people, a lot of emotions that you might not even have labels for, a lot of emotions that you might be like, why am I feeling this way? You know, last week we were watching a show and I just got overcame with emotion and started crying. Like, it was just too psychologically intense for me at this time, probably because I was feeling too vulnerable in my own life. So if you are feeling really vulnerable, like an open wound right now, again, that's the eclipses, and that's Pluto being part of this, because Pluto does have a lot to do with our vulnerability, especially in our psyche. So here's the other thing about Pluto. It rules the undercurrent. So if you've ever been in the ocean, I was listening to another astrology podcast that I really love today from Jessica Laniato. You should totally check her out. She's brilliant. So she has a podcast and I was listening to it, and she was talking about Pluto ruling the undercurrent, or like the riptide in the ocean. And I remembered years ago when I got pulled under. I was out east. I was in East Hampton, and I was with some friends. And one of my friends' husband is a born and raised California boy, so he's like surfer and all that. And I'm like a girl from New Jersey. Like, I don't even really swim too deep into the ocean. I like keep it pretty simple. So I actually was going to swim. I was jumping into the wave, and then I got pulled into the undercurrent. And if you've ever swam out on Long Island, it's definitely like a little rougher. The waves are a little bit more intense than we have in New Jersey typically. Definitely, you know, it's people like to surf out there for a good reason. So I got pulled under. The undercurrent pulled me with the undercurrent, riptide. I forgot the other word for that. But anyway, it pulled me under and I was fighting it and I was trying to get out of it. And as Jessica Lanyadoo was talking about today, like sometimes we're fighting and it's a force that's bigger than us. And I was so lucky because my friend's husband, who is a surfer boy, pulled me out. And I remember going home and just feeling really like wiped out by the whole experience. And I remember like my whole bathing suit was full of sand and I didn't even realize it from like literally being pushed against the floor of the ocean. And this week can feel like that. And that's why I'm sharing that with you, because this eclipse is kind of feeling like that. Now, mind you, there's not much to do right now except to pay attention to the messages that are coming up. So with eclipses, they illuminate things that we weren't looking at, we weren't seeing, whether we were avoiding them or we didn't know they were there. And Mercury is retrograde, which means that Mercury, our minds, are on a fact-finding mission, and we don't have all of the information that we need to make the appropriate decisions. So this leads me to tell you, if you feel like you are being pulled in the undercurrent of your emotions, of your mind, of other people's stuff and wants and desires, please just surrender. Do what you can to stay in your center. Do what you can to meditate, breathe, give yourself lots of sleep, eat nourishing food, spend time with the people that love you unconditionally, that you don't have drama with. If you need to just binge watch Netflix, it's totally okay. If you have the luxury to just peace out and take a vacation this week, it is a great week to take a vacation. Go to the beach, be by the water. So much water in the sky right now. It's really healing to be in the water if you can do it. So my big message for this week is surrender. Surrender wherever you can. Surrender does not mean that you let people walk all over you. It does not mean that you're a doormat. It means that you let things roll off your back, you hold your center, and you do your best to stay connected to yourself and what's real for you. Because here's the thing. Everyone is experiencing these eclipses. So people are projecting their shit onto you. And you are possibly projecting your shit onto other people. So can you surrender your preconceived notions, surrender what you think you know, and be in the present moment? And be open and curious and as calm, cool, and collected as possible in the present moment. Because that's where the information is going to be cropping up. That's where the universe is going to be sending you messages. And then once we get through this cycle, once we get through this eclipse on Tuesday, and then we get through Mercury retrograde, which will end on the 31st, we're going to have so much information at our disposal to make the best possible decisions. So if you feel like you are in a little bit of a waiting game, or you feel like you're in the undercurrent and you're being pushed and pulled, can you just relax your body, relax your mind, and go with the flow? I really think that will make this time easier for all of us. So that's my advice for this week. Now into the astrology and the nitty gritty of it. We've got the moon in Capricorn right now approaching the full moon lunar eclipse, which is going to happen tomorrow, so Tuesday, if you're listening to this on Monday. So Tuesday, the 16th of July, we have the full moon lunar eclipse. The sun is going to be directly opposite the moon. The moon will be in Capricorn with the south node, Saturn, and Pluto. The north node is in Cancer with Venus right now. And we also have Mercury heading into Cancer soon. And the north node, of course, is there as well. So with all of that feeling stuff in Cancer and all of that structure loving, hardworking, I'm going to do something productive energy in Capricorn, you can feel a little bit at odds. So you might be feeling a little bit polarized right now, a little bit bipolar, if you will. So, you know, it's great Monday, Tuesday, if you can use that Capricorn moon and get some work done and all that. Now, if you're feeling more of that pull toward being internal and being a little introverted and honoring your emotions and taking a time out, that's okay. Totally go with that if you're feeling like you need that. And if you feel like this is really energizing and I love the full moon, maybe you're a full moon baby. Full moon babies generally love the full moon. Maybe you feel really energized by this, then go with that. So really honor how you're feeling. Now, mind you, we're going to have the big day is Tuesday, the lunar eclipse. If you are interested in hearing my breakdown of the actual eclipse chart, then you can come over to Patreon and become a member. I'm on there. For $25 a month, you get 2 extra broadcasts, a new moon broadcast and a full moon broadcast. And those are really great if you're starting to learn how to cycle your life and your intentions and your goals with the moon, because I find that is really the best way to get into astrology. The moon is like the best gateway. So if you're interested in doing that, come on over. It's patreon.com/Veronica Peretti, and I will link it up here as well. So tomorrow I'll be breaking that down for my Essential Astrology members on Patreon. But I wanted to share that Tuesday is the big eclipse day. So you're going to be feeling a lot of energy on Tuesday. But Wednesday, we actually have Venus coming in contact with the North Node. And so the nodes are what make the eclipses eclipses. So you might actually feel the emotional fallout of the eclipse on Wednesday when Venus comes in contact with the North Node. And that might be really inspiring. You know, Venus is all about money, relationships, social life. You might feel really inspired to be in community on Wednesday. You might feel really inspired to go to the beach or go to the pool and be by yourself, because Cancer can want to turn inward. So be mindful of how you feel on Wednesday. I actually think that the beginning part of this week, while we're like all about the eclipse right now, the beginning part of this week is actually not as emotional as the latter part of the week, because we're going to have more water and we're going to have more of that Cancer energy. So be mindful on Wednesday how you're feeling after the eclipse has occurred. I also want to make note that you might not want to do a ritual or anything like that. Again, eclipses, there's nothing to really do but sit back, surrender, listen to the messages, journal, work through, process whatever emotions and things are coming up for you. Thursday, Venus is going to trine Neptune, and that is going to be another indication that we should go with the flow and surrender. Whatever's coming up for you, let it wash over you. Don't react to it. Don't make decisions based on it. Collect the information, hold onto it, journal on it so that you know what this time felt like and you can look back on it in August. That is my best advice to you. But Venus trine Neptune should be actually a really nice, warm, harmonious, flowing aspect. And enjoy it. And I have to say again, if you can take off this week, like last minute, and just go away, it's a great time to have some time to yourself and be by the water if that's possible for you. The moon is going to go void, of course, in the morning, 11:53 a.m. on Thursday, and it's going to be void all day Thursday and all day Friday until Friday evening. So Thursday and Friday are really going to be laid back days that are great for rest, meditation, study, sitting back, not necessarily taking action, not necessarily launching new projects, not necessarily negotiating something legally. Thursday and Friday, really see if you can take those days off, or at least make them light days. Friday, Mercury will backpedal into Cancer. So Mercury's been retrograde in Leo, and he's going to keep going backward into Cancer. So however you were feeling in June, that stuff's going to get, ruffled up again now that we're going back. Mercury's going back to Cancer. You know, luckily for us, we only have a few more days of the sun in Cancer. So once the sun goes into Leo on Monday, we're going to be feeling a lot better. But Friday, before we get there, Friday, Cancer is going to be ruling Mercury again, and the moon will be in Pisces, so it's going to be a very watery weekend, lots of emotions. Again, I really, really implore you to imagine yourself in the ocean, letting the waves push you back and forth, going with the flow, surrendering to what is. Sunday, Venus is going to oppose Pluto. So that's going to bring Pluto back into the mix, okay? So we're going to be feeling some of that stuff that came up this past weekend. Maybe if there were some things illuminated, some secrets, some darkness, some underlying stuff in your psyche that came up with the eclipse, we're going to feel that on Sunday when Venus opposes Pluto. And the sun is also going to conjunct Mercury. So our minds are going to be working through that stuff. So really be careful with letting your mind spin out on Sunday, because when the sun and Mercury come together, it is what we call a combust Mercury. The Mercury is moving quickly, even though it's retrograde, and that means our minds can get overstimulated pretty easily. And then Monday, Moon Day. Monday, the sun is going to go into Leo, and that's super exciting, and we'll talk next Monday, so I'll tell you all about that. That is your Essential Astrocast for the week. I hope it was useful. I feel like I went a little longer today, but it was all really important stuff. And then once again, come on over and join my Patreon page, patreon.com/Veronica Peretti, and join for $25 a month, and you'll get my lunar eclipse breakdown tomorrow, and then you'll also get a new moon. You'll get the breakdown from the solar eclipse earlier this month, but every month you'll get a new moon and a full moon breakdown. So I highly recommend coming on over and joining us for that. And if you want to know exactly where the eclipses are activating your personal chart, then book a reading with me. And you can always do that at veronicaperetti.com/astrology. And I do have openings later this month. So if you want to get in, I highly recommend you go grab those now. And I will see you next week. Have a great week, guys.